Hey, what's up guys, Totally Dubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Sennheiser IE800 earphones. Now first of all, I'd like to thank Sennheiser for sending me out the first pair of Sennheiser gear to review. I've never had Sennheiser gear actually sent to me for review. Unfortunately, I don't get to keep these IE800s, but let's see if Sennheiser will ever send me things after this review, because this is, again, as I stick to my policy of an honest, unbiased and independent review. Well, it's for you the viewers, and let's see if you enjoy it. So, before getting into it, I just want to state that you should check out my written review on my website. It's a huge 3,000 word essay. Yes, it's long, I know, but it goes into far greater depth than this video will do. This video is quite short, and I'm going to try and condense everything as much as possible. So I really suggest checking out the written review, which will cover everything and provide pictures and more details about certain things I might be talking about. So, where can you buy these and how much do they cost? Well, first of all, they're quite expensive. Well, when I say quite expensive, they're £550 on Amazon.co.uk and $800 on Amazon.com. So yes, it's a very high price tag, and these are very much aimed at people who can actually afford that. So do bear that in mind, especially when I'm going through this review. The price point I'll be reviewing it at is £550. So inside the box, what you get. So it's very simple and very disappointing, I must say. You got the earphones themselves, an extension cable, which I'll get to in just a second. You've got the ear tips on an ear platter, like so, and you've got the a case. The case comes with a serial number and a cleaning tool included. The case, unfortunately, is pretty big and pretty bulky. If you compare it to a Samsung Galaxy Note 2, you'll be able to see in terms of size, it is quite big. So therefore, it's not something I would put in my pocket. And it doesn't include anywhere that you can put your tips. So for example, if I want to put these tips and take them on the go, I can't do that in one go. So it's a little bit disappointing. I would have liked to see more included over here. For example, seeing a different extension cable included. For example, one with an inline microphone. A airplane adapter, foam tips. God, there's a lot of things that they could have included, but none of them are included. I think one of the biggest things for me was a soft pouch. A small little soft pouch would have been great. For example, one that's found on the VSonic GR07 MK2s. That would have been absolutely perfect. But anyway, accessories are disappointing, and especially at the price point, you know, it's disappointing to see from Sennheiser. Now next up, I'm going to move on to the build quality. Now the build quality is quite extensive. I don't know where to start, but let's start from the jack. So the jack is a straight right-angled 3.5mm gold-plated jack. Nothing too special there. As we continue down the cable, you'll be able to see that the cable is well designed. It is very thin, but very strong in my opinion, and it's terminated with a female 2.5mm jack. Now this is where my problem starts. Why has Sennheiser opted for a female 2.5mm jack and a male 2.5mm jack to be included here? This little thing, and I'll get into this in the comfort section, is very annoying. Now in terms of build quality goes, as you can see, this cable is not removable, so therefore if I want to take the cable out, I can't. So I own the Audiophonic PFE232s, which are very expensive earphones when they first came out at £400. They had removable cables. A lot of earphones nowadays have removable cables, even at the £250 mark, and unfortunately these £550 Sennheiser IE800s do not have any removable cable. I do not consider this as a removable cable, unfortunately. Yes, I can replace this, but what if the cable were to break over here? After 2-year warranty, what am I supposed to do? Throw them away? Solder them? I don't know. That's not really acceptable at £550, and I expected much more from Sennheiser. Especially considering that their IE8 and the IE80, the lower end models, which cost about 250 odd quid, funnily enough, do have a removable cable from the earphone housing. That's excellent, and I don't know why that's not included on the IE800. Now speaking about the build quality and continuing about that, I'm going to mention it in the comfort section, but this design is absolutely silly. The reason I mention this is that it's a bit too short. When I say a bit too short, this cable is 30 centimeters long, and this one is 80 centimeters long, making a total length of 1.1 meters. Now that's not a problem in terms of overall length, but when you want to wear these straight down, they cause cable noise, and cable noise is essentially noise that's created by a wire hitting on your shirt. This is very common for certain earphones that have a, say, rigid earphone design, a cable design, or a flat cable. Now in this respect, cable noise is really created by this really silly jack that you got here. Because this is quite bulky, this hits on your shirt or anything that you're wearing and therefore creates cable noise. Now, you might think, okay, that's not a problem, you know, Chris, just wear these over the ear. Now, that's what I usually do. For example, with my Fisher Audio consonants, I just wear them over the ear. Now, the problem with this is that as the cable is so short, this Y split literally sticks around my neck, almost like it's strangling my neck. Now, I do have quite a long neck, so I do appreciate that, but I have never ever experienced this with any other earphone that I've reviewed, and I'm talking about over 100 odd earphones. I've probably demoed about 150 odd earphones out there, all different models, all different makes and everything, and it's one of the first earphones that I've ever come across that actually has this problem. It's so fundamental that it came to a point that I was not comfortable wearing them, and I'll get to that in just a second. But continuing with the build quality, the earphones are actually well built, despite them actually coming cracked. Now you might be surprised about this, but the review unit I received, the right earphone, which I think is the one I've got on the floor, there it is, has a crack on the side. It's actually going to be impossible to see in the camera because you need good lighting, and pictures will show this, so on my website you'll be able to see it. But the housing is cracked. Now, I don't know how someone has cracked these, because quite literally you're going to have to bash them on a table or something like that to crack them. I feel that the build quality is good, I don't see them breaking, and the cable is also good quality. So it's just a shame that they came cracked, but it's just something I thought I should note. So overall, I was not very impressed at the build quality, especially considering its £550 price tag. The removable cable is a real essential, and the cable design really doesn't help it at all. Now, continuing on to the design, looks, comfort and isolation. So the looks for starters. Now the looks for me are brilliant. It looks like a twin turbo engine that you can find like on a jet or on a Formula 1 car. So top marks for Sennheiser for actually making a nice design. However, these earphones are super small. You can probably see due to the size of them. Again, if I compare it to a Note 2, you can see how tiny these things are. Now, you might think this is good because it's tiny. It sits very in your ears like incognito. You don't really realize them. But unfortunately, this is completely eliminated when the fact that you have one, noise isolation, which is reduced. Due to the physical size of them, their passive noise cancellation is poor. Therefore, a lot of noise it comes in naturally because of the shape of the earphone, and on top of that, because you can see two ports over here, and that's for the driver to actually breathe, so to speak, and therefore you've got actually noise leaking in from here as well. So in terms of noise isolation, you lose on that, and on top of that, due to the small size, you might think that these will be comfortable to wear. But as I previously said, because of this Y split, they're uncomfortable to wear straight down or over the ear. This is because whilst they're wearing straight down, this little piece over here pulls them down over time, and forget about running or anything like that, but even when I was walking with them, they started falling out of my ear. You'd be actually able to see a picture on them. You know, I was not recreating, I just put them in my ear, within a couple of seconds they start slipping out. Now you might be thinking, okay Chris, that's no problem, change the ear tips. Well, there's another problem. The ear tips have this unique design which is really like Sennheiser locked. It's got a unique lock mechanism. Now of course you could put different tips on them and you could force different tips on them, but it's clearly shown over here that it's not designed for other tips to be included. And in this respect, it's very disappointing. The fact that I can't put my own tips on it is really, really disappointing. And you know, let's say I lose these tips, these medium tips, and I run out of medium tips over here, then what am I supposed to do? Buy them from Sennheiser? That they're probably going to be ridiculously expensive. Or let's say they're discontinued in 4 years time, then what am I going to do? You know, I can't do anything. I'm going to mold a tip on it of some sort or get a custom ear tips somehow. You know, it's just really not well thought out. So therefore the comfort of these was not really good for me. You know, they're either slipping out or this was pulling them down or causing discomfort by the neck. So I was not really impressed by that. So the only good thing about it, I would say, is the looks. Now finally, the sound quality. Now of course that's the most important part. Now the sound quality was really sensational. It is the only thing that really stood out of the review for me, was the sound quality. In terms of positively stood out. The sound quality is really well done. The lows really extend really nicely, and the mid bass slam is really well done. It's not overdone in order to overshadow the mids, but it is at a good quantity. I feel that due to it having a dynamic like a driver inside, you get a really nice slam. I must say, in comparison to my PFE232s, I felt that my PFE232s, due to having dual balanced armature drivers, which are not notably known for producing good bass, PFE232s produces a better sub-bass response, especially when I put custom tips on my PFE232s. The sub-bass response was phenomenal. So in that respect, I felt that the sub-bass was a little bit lacking on them in comparison to something like the 232s. But in terms of the overall thought of them, really excellent. I mean, I gave them 9.5 rating, if I'm not mistaken, my review, and I must say that was very, very good. I mean, the low end response was really nice. Now the mids and the highs, I gave a full 10 out of 10. They were sensational. The only thing is that if I'm gonna be super critical about these earphones and compare them to other neutral earphones out there on the market, or earphones that, you know, are above in terms of price range of these of the IE800s, then I must say the mids were slightly V-shaped sounding or a little bit recessed. Now this is being super analytical of them. I can't say that I would give them anything lower than a 10 out of 10 for mids, especially as universal earphones. But it's just something I should note, just in case someone was saying, well, why is it, you know, some people might say that it sounds recessed. Well, it sounds recessed if you can compare it to earphones that are above in terms of price point, or compare it, you know, as a £550 earphone. They sound slightly recessed. But in comparison to my 232s, PFE 232s, I felt that they sounded very, very nice. The mids were very nice and lush, and they weren't overdone, nor were they too recessed. The 232s, in fact, felt more recessed than these IE800s. The highs as well were actually sensational. The cymbals were really nice. The high-end extension didn't really roll off. I didn't hear any sort of roll off occurring, and on top of that, it's not sibilant, or nor is it too ear piercing. So the highs are just perfect for me, and I really like them. There's no way of critiquing the highs. However, one thing I should mention in the sound quality section was the soundstage. Now the soundstage was disappointing due to its price point. Now the soundstage was good. I gave it an 8 out of 10 rating. That's a good rating. But when I consider its price point, I think it's disappointing as it lets down the overall rating of the sound. It could have been a really perfect sound if it had a better soundstage. Now the soundstage is really mainly due, in terms of a guess, due to its actual physical design of the earphone. The earphone is so small that it doesn't actually have space to produce a lovely airy sound. For me, it felt almost like Sennheiser went on a plane, and with their IE8s, which had a ridiculous soundstage, which was super wide and super deep, overdone in my opinion, hit the throttle in terms of like a plane to the maximum, then completely yanked it back for the IE800s. It felt that it's not condensed, but it felt that it's kind of being suppressed, and it feels like it's suffocating in its own sound. It's a shame, because if the soundstage was a little bit wider, the music separation, the general reproduction of the sound and where the music was coming from would have been so much better. In comparison to my PFE 232s, again, I felt that the soundstage was much better in terms of my audiophonacs. They were much better at producing a more overall sound that came from all different directions, and a more enjoyable sound, a deeper and wider sound. So the IE800s didn't give me that sort of sound that I was looking for, and even my good friend Kai, which is actually a web developer on my site, even said it's missing this je ne sais quoi, which in French is like this little bit of something, and that little bit of something came from the soundstage. That little bit of extra sparkle, a little bit of extra sound that you want, didn't really come from the IE800s, and it's a shame. I would have liked to see it there, and it wasn't there. So overall, what do I think about them? I just think that the IE800s are a little bit hit and miss, mainly due to their design. In terms of design, if there were certain things that were fixed, I think these earphones would have been really one of the best universal earphones on the market, at least one of the best I've heard, especially at their price point. £550 is a lot of money, but you must think in comparison to other earphones in the market, it would have done a really good job. The sound is very good, but if it had a bigger housing, in terms of design again, it would have had a better soundstage and therefore a better overall sound. If the cable was removable and therefore didn't have this silly design over here, it would have solved the comfort issue, would have solved the isolation issue as well, and would have solved the longevity issue in terms of, you know, having a decent cable. So all of those things combined, and on top of that, in terms of what you get in the overall package, is disappointing and could have easily been improved by Sennheiser. I don't know why they haven't, but that's their choice. Overall, I can't really recommend these earphones at their given price point. They are good earphones, but unfortunately due to their price point and due to their design flaws, especially ones which hit on their comfort, it's a shame. And I really would love to recommend them due to its sound, but if you're going to be using these as earphones, i.e. on the go, then you'll be uncomfortable, or they'll be either falling out or not giving you enough isolation or something around that line. So anyway guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this honest review. If you have, make sure you give it a nice thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more honest reviews, comment to see what you think about the review and the earphones themselves, and definitely favourite and share, as it's always good to spread the love. As I said before, check out the links in the description below if you want to purchase it on Amazon.co.uk or Amazon USA, and definitely check out my written review on my website. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed and this has been the Sennheiser IE800s. Take care guys, totally dubbed out. Bye bye.